Whether it's a hot time in Florida or a rainy night in Georgia,
looking for trouble?
It's the perfect time for the TCBCast, an unofficial Elvis fan podcast.
Oh, yes, sir. Good to see you go, folks. This Black Fix bring you the hottest thing in the country, real hot and blue, coming to WHBQ in Memphis, Tennessee.
With your hosts, Justin Gosman and Gurdip Ladar. The TCBcast is on the air.
Welcome to TCBcast, an unofficial Elvis Presley fan podcast. I'm Justin Gosman.
And I'm a very sickly Gurdip Ladar.
Yeah, I'm still recovering myself as well. We're both feeling not too well this episode, so take pity on us, folks.
Yeah, we're still going through with this.
We have to. It's our Halloween episode.
Yeah. We needed to get this out for Halloween,
right? And it's been a couple weeks since we recorded our last episode, but I think we got a good one for folks. Just real quick, how have you been aside from being sick?
Besides being sick, it's been it's been pretty. It's been okay. Done a bunch of Halloween stuff with the kids. I actually watched Halloween last Friday. Yeah, It came out last Friday.
Did you like that?
I really enjoyed it. If anybody's a fan of the old 1978 Halloween, they should definitely check it out because there's a lot of callbacks to it, and it's similar to the original. So it'd make a good Halloween viewing, watching Halloween.
Be good to watch Halloween on Halloween.
Exactly. Why not?
Exactly.
And you've been busy yourself, haven't you?
Well, last couple days I've been immersed in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2. So that's been fun.
Yeah, you've been raving about it to me.
It's so good. It's so good. It remains to be seen whether it's better than the first. I'm not done yet, so we'll see. But I am about. Let's see. I just checked. I think I was at like 40% of the way through the story already, and I've easily invested 25 hours already. Just wow. We're recording this on Sunday, and the game came out on Thursday night, 10 p.m. my time.
Why don't you tell the people what you did on Friday? You didn't go to work.
I didn't go to work. I took the day off to play Red Dead Redemption, and I played it from. So it came out at 10 p.m. on Thursday night, and I stayed up until 2 a.m. So I spent 4 hours, and then slept for about 5 hours. Took my girlfriend to work, came back home. And played from, it would have been about 8 o'clock in the morning to about 9:30 at night, with only one break to go pick her up for lunch. And this
is a sickly man here as well.
And so. I'm actually recording right now with a cough drop in my mouth.
Yeah. And I was telling you I was playing Gears of War 1 with my son, and you're like, welcome to 2008.
Right. But I haven't played Gears of War either.
Yeah.
So we talked about that, but it's been kind of an interesting couple weeks since we recorded last. It's interesting that we talked about box sets on the last episode, and then I had made an offhand comment at the time that they were looking at releasing a 68 special comeback special box set, and then they officially confirmed it. So it is officially confirmed now. It's 5 CDs and 2 Blu-rays that it's
Pricey.
coming out. It's like $150. It's way pricey. But I was surprised, they're actually like committing to Blu-rays, and yet HBO couldn't be bothered for The Searcher, which was actually shot, in high definition, whereas the 68 special is not going to get a whole lot better than it was on Blu-ray, on DVD, because it's only, we've talked about this many times before, but... So, and then the other news that happened this week was Tony Joe White passed away.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, Tony Joe White, for folks who aren't familiar, he was the writer of Polk Salad Annie and I've Got a Thing About You, Baby, that Elvis did. So, yeah, it's very unfortunate he passed away.
The little dog girl that I swear to the world made the alligators look tame. Polk Salad Annie. Polk Salad Annie. Everybody said it was a shame, 'cause her mama was a wicked on a chain gang. A mean, vicious woman. I gotta think about you, baby. Ain't nothing I can do. I gotta think about you, baby. Think about loving you. A rainy night in Georgia. A rainy night in Georgia. Oh, I believe it's raining all over the world.
Rainy night in Georgia.
Rainy night in Georgia, yes. And we pay homage to that every episode at the end of the show. So this one will have to go out to him for sure.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Any other Elvis news out there?
Other than that, The Searcher did come out on DVD. There hasn't been much else Elvis news-wise.
Did you pick it up or no?
I haven't picked it up yet, no.
Okay.
No, it's been a rough couple weeks. I've been sick for like 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I'm on the recovering end, and you're coming down with it. So
Oh no, I'm in the I'm right in the muck and mire. I'm full blown cold.
yeah, gross.
That's probably why my voice sounds a bit different as well.
Yeah. So
I should start singing "Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe."
there you go. They announced that there are going to be 2 more Royal Philharmonic Orchestra releases out this year. One is another volume of Roy Orbison, but the new one was Buddy Holly.
That was the one I was excited about.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to listen to that single?
I did. 2 of them, I think. Every Day and True Love Ways.
Yeah, because there's kind of they don't really have an A-side and B-side anymore, but that's essentially what it is. I really like the new version of Every Day.
I mean, Every Day is one of those songs that I always liked, and this just adds on to it.
Yeah, it's so playful, and it feels full. Buddy's vocal sounds so polished.
Yeah.
Every day seems a little longer. Every way love's a little stronger. Come what may, do you ever long for true love from me? Every day it's a getting closer, going faster than a roller coaster. Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey.
Like, it sounds great. I'm used to hearing Buddy's stuff like all crackly and just like an old vinyl transfer or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you gotta pick up some of the remastered stuff.
I do. I really need to pick up some remastered Buddy Holly stuff.
His stuff is not crackly at all. It's really smooth. And there's a video on YouTube where they're discussing this RPO release, and there's various songs that they highlight that's not out, like "Raining in My Heart."
Yeah.
Such a great song that. Just listen to Buddy Holly. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's an immense talent that was gone
way
really
too
quickly.
soon. Way too soon.
Yeah.
So, well, let's go ahead and roll right into our main topic this week. We've been planning it for a while. So for Halloween, we are doing an episode on novelty songs.
Yeah,
because
some of our favorites.
Yeah, and not necessarily horror themed, but yours are largely horror themed.
Mine.
But we didn't set that up as like a thing that it had to be that. You just kind of went that way.
And not all of these have anything to do with Elvis. Some kind of do, but this is just for like a Halloween special.
Yeah, it's just kind of a thing to do because Elvis doesn't really have a lot of Halloween spooky type songs. That just wasn't really a thing. Although I would make an argument for Cotton Candy Land. It's a very creepy song if you actually sit and listen to the words. Did I ever tell you about there was one time I was playing around with that in an audio editing program and I pitched it way, way down to make it sound like, it was like some demon
Sandman
singing it.
coming.
Yeah.
Sandman's coming, yes, he's coming to sprinkle you with sand. He'll say 1, 2, 3, and you will be in cotton candy land.
The only other song I can think of is "Devil in Disguise." Kind of.
But that's not real. That's just kind of a love song.
I know, but if you're looking for any kind
song.
of connection to Halloween, that would be it.
Yeah, and that's not really a horror spooky song.
You know what's weird? From all the books I've read, they've never talked about Halloween and Elvis, do they?
No, and I was actually thinking about that the other day because I was
It's always Christmas.
yeah, but we've never seen, like, I've seen a couple pictures of him, like, doing Easter egg hunt with his daughter. But as far as Halloween, I never have read anything or seen any photos of, like, if he dressed up for Halloween. You know, I never have heard any anecdotes about him.
Halloween, anything special, like
Yeah.
fireworks, anything.
Yeah, if anybody knows of anything, let us know. Because I haven't certainly looked at anything. I should do a little more research and see. Like I said, I've been out of it, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to do research for Elvis and Halloween because I only thought of that the other day. But we've actually been planning this episode for like a month.
So a novelty song. What is it exactly?
Well, a novelty song, it's basically, it's not quite comedy song.
It could be, though.
But it regularly is. It's a song that...
Like, nonsensical song, and, like, it's usually performed for a comedic effect, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I guess.
And it's been interesting because the novelty song has had a weird kind of in and out relationship with pop culture. And... because there's been many that have been very popular over the years. There's oftentimes there will be ones that are associated with cartoon characters, so they'll just have some really goofy lyrics. And then, of course, everyone likes to poke fun at the fact that in the 50s, you know, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window was, you know, a very popular number one hit in the early 50s, and that Elvis was a nice break from that kind of... directionless novelty music.
Uh-huh.
How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that doggy in the window? I do hope that doggy is for sale.
And it's interesting because reading through the book, Edward's book, The History of Rock and Roll, Part 1, they actually talk about how there was this weird gap between basically Elvis going into the Army / Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper dying, although ironically the Big Bopper had several novelty hits. But there was a gap between kind of 1958 and like really into 1963 before the Beatles came on the scene. There's about a 3 or 4 year period where rock and roll was kind of fading away as a fad, and so novelty songs started coming back into popularity in a way. And so, yeah, there's just, you know, it's really weird. So, yeah, let's go ahead and rock through our list of novelty songs.
Back and forth, I guess, just like we normally do?
Yeah, we'll just do that. Would you like to go ahead and start?
Sure.
So what's the first one on your list that you would like to highlight?
The first one I picked was Gary Paxton's Spooky Movies.
Spooky movies.
When I asked my baby for a date, she said she'd rather stay at home up late. Says my cold kisses give her real cold chills, but the spooky movies always give her thrills. My baby loves the spooky movies. My baby loves those spooky movies. My baby loves the spooky movies.
Yeah. Now, have you heard this song?
Well, I mean, I've listened to them all now, but I hadn't heard it before then.
Oh, you never heard it before?
No. It was
Okay,
kind of groovy, though. I liked it.
It is. It was from the early 60s. So, besides being a recording artist, Gary Paxton was also a songwriter and record producer. And he actually produced Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett on his label.
Okay, interesting.
And before this, he recorded with the Hollywood Argyles. Their big hit was Alley Oop. Have you heard that?
I have heard that.
Alley Oop's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the Elvis connection of this is Gary Paxton also wrote and produced LOVE for the Blackwood Brothers, which took home a Grammy for Best Gospel Performance in 1973. And also Gary was influenced by Elvis and started his own band in 56. So, but back then, I guess a lot of people were influenced by Elvis that were starting at that time.
Yeah.
So This was written by Hank Levine and Steve Stone. It was recorded by Gary Paxton sometime in the early 60s, but never released. But it finally came out in 2006 on the album called Hollywood Maverick, The Gary S. Paxton Story. Now, I've never heard this either before, but the first time I heard it, I loved it. It was a recent find for me as well, because I heard it on season 2 of Stranger Things. That's where I first heard it. I think it was in episode 1, I believe, of season 2.
Okay.
Have you seen Stranger Things?
I have, yeah.
And you didn't recognize the
I
song?
didn't recognize that at all. I'll have to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah, I believe it was in the first episode of season 2. And this reminds me a lot of Monster Mash.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, it's great for Halloween with the strange laughs.
And the screaming, yeah.
Yeah. It's catchy. It's really, really catchy, like you were saying. There's another version of the song by Roy Clark, which is a little bit faster, but it's also very good.
She said if I look like a King Kong, a big and hairy and a mean and strong, I might have a chance to compete with the things she calls the creature from the deep. My baby loves the spooky, spooky movies. My baby loves the spooky, spooky movies. My baby loves the spooky movies.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. But you like it, right? You heard it.
Yeah, no, it was kind of groovy. It's got that great kind of early 60s pop feel with just like, a theme to it. And that's the thing with like a lot of these novelty songs is that like most of the times they fit into like a typical genre, but it's the lyrical content or like the samples or things like that make it really weird. And
essentially what the song is about is the guy's girlfriend is not really into him, but she's into spooky movies, and that gives her like spine jingles and
a lot of those B movies.
Gets her going. But I'm surprised it's not as popular as Monster Mash, because it's in the similar vein.
Yeah,
but maybe because it just came out like not too long ago. So
right.
Hopefully the exposure of Stranger Things, more people know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
awesome.
What do you got?
Well, the first one that I wanted to highlight it's kind of a threefer because it's Surfin' Bird by the Trashmen, which a lot of people are familiar with, but I don't think as many people realize that it's actually kind of a mashup of 2 earlier songs by the Rivingtons, who were an African-American singing group, a doo-wop group, and they had originally recorded the first part of it was just Papa Mau Mau in 1962.
Papa 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 Mau Mau 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 Papa Mau Mau
The second part of it, which was The Birds of the Word, which came out later. If you have you heard either of the original 2 songs, Papa Mau Mau or Birds of the Word?
I don't know if I've heard the originals. I've heard the combination. Isn't the combination the more well known?
Yeah. Surfin' Bird is way more well known because it was a top 10 hit in 1963.
Actually, I have heard the Papa Mau Mau. I think it was on one of the doo-wop box sets. I believe I probably heard that.
That one was the more popular of the 2 Rivington songs. They're a little more slowly paced than the original, or than the mashup that would come later. But it's very insightful to like listen to the 2, and you can kind of hear, because they do sound very similar. It's not like they're 2 vastly different songs. They fit together actually very well. They are kind of proto surf rock songs. And then by the time the Trashmen got around to it in the 60s, in 1963, it ended up going full surf rock and became this massive hit. So yeah, what do you think of Surfing Bird?
Oh, it's great. I know the beginning is similar to Blue Moon by the Marcells, where you have this nonsensical, expression or saying, and then it gets into the song. But yeah, I think I first heard this on some kind of early '60s compilation of songs, but not necessarily novelty CD or anything, but because I guess it was a big hit.
Yeah,
that's why it was on that. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
it's not like one of the first songs I go to, but it is one I like. And
basically, what had happened was that the Trashmen had overheard a different band playing Papa Oom Mau Mau. They had done a cover. Some other group had done a cover of it, and then so they decided to combine the two songs, not knowing that both of them had been done by the Rivingtons. And then they ended up being convinced to record it and release it. And what had actually happened was that one of the band members of the Trashmen was actually credited as the songwriter on the first version of it, and so they sued the Trashmen. The Rivingtons sued the Trashmen for plagiarism, and it ended up on all future ones getting all the credit, because it is literally. I mean, he didn't do anything other than mash up two Rivington songs.
Right.
And then, of course, I mean, much later on, it was more famously featured in Full Metal Jacket and Family Guy.
Bird, well, a bird is a word. Chris, don't you know about the bird? Make everybody knows that the bird is the word. Oh, well, a bird. The bird is the word. Hey, guy behind the counter, the bird is the word. Hey, frightened little child, the bird is the word. Lady on the toilet, the bird is the word. Hey, don't you know about the bird?
Sure, everybody knows that the bird is the word.
Oh, well, a bird. The bird's a word. Oh, well, a bird. Again, I love repetition. Hey, what's your big idea?
This song's from the 1960s. It shouldn't be in this jukebox.
Wait, can I have that record? I love that song.
Yeah, no, it's one of my favorites, and I love, it's just so funny and goofy, and it's got this, really aggressive kind of nasal vocal. I love it.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Cool. Awesome.
And one last thing. Elvis can actually be heard singing a bit of it during the recording sessions of Going Home, which can be heard on the Stay Away Joe
That's
FTV.
That's right. I totally forgot about that.
Yep.
Papa hu mau mau, papa hu mau mau, papa hu mau mau. Okay. Hey.
This proud wild land where the wind blows free has always been a part of me. It's in my blood. I just can't get it out.
Yep, so Elvis was very much aware of this song.
Yeah. Well, I think Elvis was aware of a lot of the popular music at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I think I read somewhere where he would have people buy the top 100 songs on record and bring them to him.
Yeah, just so that he could be up to date with what was popular and what was familiar. And yeah. It's good stuff.
So, cool. I'll get to my next song. Frankenstein of 59, backed with Frankenstein Returns by Buchanan and Goodman.
They said it couldn't be done.
Couldn't be done. Couldn't be done. Couldn't be done. But now, at last, I've created the Frankenstein monster.
This is Count Dracula speaking. The Frankenstein monster has escaped.
Don't try to hide. I'm every place.
We're here in Washington at a special meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, the President.
Hello, baby.
Mr. President, what happens if the monster cannot be stopped?
Problems all day long.
Army radar has picked up the monster.
Now, have you ever heard this before?
I had never heard this before. This was weirder than hell.
So, just to give some backstory, Bill Buchanan and Dickie Goodman started making parody novelty records in '56 with the Flying Saucer. Did you ever hear of the Flying Saucer?
I had heard that, yeah.
Okay, so basically what it is it's like almost like a Orson Welles War of the Worlds parody where they intercut a story with quick clips of popular music at that time. It's like a mashup, and that Flying Saucer includes Elvis's Heartbreak Hotel. And when that record came out, the Flying Saucer, they were actually brought to trial because of copyright infringement.
Mm-hmm.
But the courts ruled that the completed song was a parody entirely of a new work, and so that case was thrown out. They had carte blanche to do as many of these as they wanted because it was a parody. And the song actually reached number 3 on the Billboard charts. It's crazy how popular it was because it's taking the best songs. It's taking the best songs and putting them together, wrapped around a story.
But it's it's not even really like bits of songs. It's really just like individual lines that are used as like fake dialogue.
Yeah. To accentuate what they're talking about in the record. So Buchanan and Goodman severed their partnership in 1959, and this Frankenstein of '59 was one of their last records together. Dickie Goodman would go on to do many of these. He did one popular one in the '70s was Mr. Jaws, which is also similar to this, where he tells the story of Jaws, but intercuts it with popular music at the time. And he did a bunch. He did one for Star Wars, Rocky, E.T. Like, you can go check out Dickie Goodman. He has a bunch of things.
We are here on the beach where a giant shark has just eaten a girl swimmer. Well, Mr. Jaws, how was it? Dynamite! And what did she say when you grabbed her?
Please, mister, please.
I know sharks are stupid, but what did you think when you took that first bite?
How sweet it is.
Mr. Jaws, before you swim out to sea, have you anything else to say?
I can't
Yeah, so anyway, Frankenstein of '59 is the one I picked because I figured it'd be good for our theme today, and because we're so close to Halloween.
Right. And it actually features a sample of an Elvis song, One Night.
The monster coming this way! It's Frankenstein! Just call my name. The army has opened fire on the monster! But he still keeps coming! Hold your fire! Dr. Frankenstein's chief assistant is stepping forward. He's trying to speak to the monster.
You don't remember me, but I remember you.
The monster is attacking him.
Exactly. So this is similar to the Flying Saucer record, where the story is mixed with various song samples. It starts with Dr. Frankenstein creating the monster, and we get narration by Count Dracula. So the doctor sounds much like Boris Karloff, and Dracula sounds like Bela Lugosi. Right. So Frankenstein goes on a rampage and then ends up on the American Bandstand, where he turns out he just wanted to dance. And we get samples of Big Bopper, Chantilly Lace, Everly Brothers' Problems, The Diamonds, Walking Along, Elvis's One Night, Little Anthony and the Imperials, Tears on My Pillow. And there's one point where Dracula tries to talk to Frankenstein in his own language, or the only language he understands, and we cut to Tony Dall'Orea's Come Prima. It's an Italian love song, which I really like because it's very, very funny. And the song ends with Conway Twitty's It's Only Make Believe, because they go, and this story is, and then we go to It's Only Make Believe. The second side is more of the same, where the monster returns again, and we get Elvis's I Got Stung on it, with a bunch of more samples from Everly Brothers, Big Bopper, and the Kingston Trio.
Stop or I'll shoot! It's the Frankenstein monster!
Holy smoke, land sakes alive!
This is Westbrook Van Eastbrook Jr. Frankenstein has returned!
What did you think of this when you heard it?
I was literally like, what am I listening to? What, like, I had to listen to it like a couple times just to like get the whole story and like kind of understand what was going on. This is like what novelty songs are like best at, is like telling us it's part skit, part song. And that's what I've always loved about, like, because I've always been a fan of, like, Weird Al Yankovic, and some of his best songs are the ones that are, like, Albuquerque is my favorite song of all time from Weird Al. It's like this 11-minute comedy routine, but it's also a song and a skit, and that's what I love about Novelty songs. But as far as Frankenstein at 59, Frankenstein Returns, it's just weird, like, and it's surprising, like you said, like how popular these were. What year did this come out again?
This was
59. It 59?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in that weird gap between Elvis left for the army and before the Beatles.
Yeah, and as you can tell by all the samples, they're all samples from around that time, 58, 59.
Yeah.
So these were the popular songs at the moment.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah. So, next.
All right. So the next one that I wanted to highlight was Chuck Berry's My Ding-a-Ling.
When I was a little bitty boy, my grandmother bought me a cute little toy. Silver bells hanging on a string. She told me it was my ding-a-ling-a-ling, oh. Ding-a-ling, Beautiful, beautiful.
This song by good old Chuck.
Yeah, good old Chuck Berry. Was written actually by a guy by the name of Dave Bartholomew, who was an African-American songwriter, musician, band leader, composer. And he was very influential in transitioning from jump blues to swing and R&B. And he actually had composed the song One Night, which Elvis, obviously recorded and was featured on that last Frankenstein at 59. But interestingly enough, Chuck Berry did a version of it before he did the more popular My Ding-a-Ling. It was called My Tambourine in 1968. Have you ever heard that?
I don't think so. I don't think I've heard that one.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not as charming or as fun as My Ding-a-Ling.
When I was a little bitty boy, my grandmother bought me a cute little toy, a drum with jingles in between, and said, take care of your tambourine. Oh, my tambourine, I do like to shake my tambourine. My tambourine, I keep on shaking my tambourine.
And that was his version was recorded live at the Lanchester Arts Festival in Coventry, England, in 1972, and was put out on the radio by a couple DJs, and then it kind of was a viral thing more than anything else. Before the word viral really meant what it means today. In terms of music or pop culture. Anyway, so it was pushed on radio and it went to number one. So much, and it was so popular it hit at just the right time. It actually blocked Burning Love from reaching number one in the U.S. Burning Love only went to number two because My Ding-a-Ling was the number one. It's got this great kind of call and response where he's got the women saying "my" and the men "ding-a-ling."
Yeah.
What are your what's your take on My Ding-a-Ling?
Well, first time I heard it, I was like, wait a second, is he talking about what we think we're talking about? But then
exactly
in the beginning, he's talking about, something else, like a toy, like silver bells ringing from a string. But it's not. It's a double entendre. It's he's talking about genitalia, male genitalia.
And masturbation.
Exactly.
Playing with my ding-a-ling.
Yeah, but Chuck Berry was known for that. Didn't he? He also had that other song where, what were the lyrics? I boogied in the hallway. I boogied in the stairways. I boogied in the hall. I boogied on my finger and wiped it on the wall. I think I was reeling and rocking.
Yeah.
I mean, he always had those kind of lyrics.
Yeah, it was very playful, kind of innuendo type stuff. His vocal performance isn't really that perfect, and his guitar playing is so basic on this song. Because he's just strumming some basic chords, but it's so charming the way he delivers it. Yeah, but I mean, you can hear that he's having fun with it. He's laughing at the end of it. And...
Oh, yo, ding-a-ling, we saw you playing with your... Oh, my
I remember on The Simpsons there was one of Bart's fellow classmates performing this on stage, and Skinner, he's like, "That's enough of this."
My ding-a-ling, I want you to play with my ding-a-ling.
This act is over. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to put this filth behind us.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it.
Cool.
So
awesome.
my dingling, Chuck Berry.
Awesome. So my next song is "I Put a Spell on You," Screamin' Jay Hawkins.
I put a spell on you. Because you're mine. Stop the things you do. What's up? I ain't lying.
Have you heard this?
Yes, I had. And it was great to revisit it because this is phenomenal. I actually made in my notes. I said this is hands down the best song on your list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is a great song. So, Jealousy, Screamin' Jay Hawkins was not only a singer but also a musician and songwriter. Initially, the song was going to be a ballad, like a romantic ballad, but Jay had one too many and started grunting and screaming his way through the song, and then he blacked out. And then the next day, he heard the song, and he loved it. So they just kept it as is. Although the song didn't chart, it's always been a popular novelty song, and apparently sold well over 1 million. But there was issues with radio stations playing it because they thought it was in bad taste and too sexual. But Alan Freed really liked it, and then he and Screamin' Jay came up with a character for him to perform live. He would rise up from the coffin during Alan Freed shows, look like a crazy voodoo priest with various gimmicks like smoking skulls, rubber snakes, leopard skin costume, cape, and a bone through his nose.
Yeah.
I could just imagine this must have freaked out the people back in the day. This crazy, crazy wild man.
There's a video out there of him doing it. Have you seen that?
I've seen, there's a few videos. Yeah. He actually did this on American Hot Wax too, the film. He really gets all into that character.
He does.
But I really like the beat. That beat is excellent. And he just goes off and he makes these weird noises like...
Because you're mine. Oh, yeah.
When did you hear this?
I don't even remember the first time I heard it. It was probably mid-2000s.
Yeah, and the song was very, very popular, and it's covered by many artists like Creedence Clearwater Revival, The Animals, Van Morrison, Joe Cocker, Santana, and Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, none of them anywhere near as good as the original.
No,
not even close.
One interesting thing is it was sampled by the Notorious B.I.G. on a song in 1997, his last album called "Kick in the Door," and he uses that main beat on the song. So as soon as I heard Biggie's song, I was like, "Oh, that's I Put a Spell on You." It sounds excellent. Yeah, so
Biggie. This goes out to you. This goes out to you and you and you and you. This goes out to you. This goes out to you.
So why, going back to your original thing, why was this your favorite song for my list?
I like the intensity of it. It's got that kind of early rock, raw vibe of it. In the same way that, a lot of Elvis's and Little Richards and so some of those other early rock artists, their original stuff had that kind of same raw sound, and that's what this had as well.
Cool.
And a lot of the other ones on yours are much more polished. So yeah.
Cool. What do we got?
So the next one that I wanted to highlight was Tiny Tim's version of "Tiptoe Through the Tulips."
Tiptoe through the window,
This is interesting. I've never heard this before.
You've never heard this before?
I never heard.
What did you think of this?
I heard of Tiny Tim before, but I never heard of this song. This is an interesting pick. I was like, well, why do you like this? Because he sings in this weird falsetto.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, it's very off, but strangely, the more you hear it, the more you kind of like it.
Yeah, it's catchy.
It's very, very catchy.
And it kind of became his signature song, even though by the time he got around to it, because he recorded it in 1968, 50 years ago, and it didn't...
I guess from the 20s.
Yeah, it was from 1929. It was written by Al Dubin and Joe Burke. The most popular version was the singer Nick Lucas had done a version for the movie Gold Diggers of Broadway. And if you go back and listen to the original version, he does it in this very high-pitched voice.
In flowers we'll try, we'll keep the showers away, and if I kiss you in the garden, in the moonlight, will you pardon me? Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
And so Tiny Tim, when he did it back in 1968, it was so popular again that he was repopularizing it. That even Elvis was familiar with it, because during the filming of the 68 comeback special, Elvis actually sings a line of it during the stand-up show.
Well, she's a little tiptoe through the two, huh? Okay, how about, I don't think that I can take it, 'cause it took so long to bake it. I'll never find that recipe again.
The instrumentation is really, really good. The vocal, at first, it can be grating if you don't, but like you said, as you listen to it, it can actually be kind of catchy and can catch your ear, and you'll find yourself humming it much later.
Yeah, it's just a sweet song.
Oh, I saw Mr. Presley tiptoeing through the tulips in my backyard garden late last night. Oh, I saw Mr. Presley tiptoeing through the tulips with his guitar in his suit of white. I'm sure that it was him, my friend. I knew he'd keep in touch. He dropped his scarf when I gave it back. He said,
Thank you very much.
I saw Mr. Presley tiptoeing through the tulips underneath the silvery moonlight.
So yeah, that was the next one I wanted to highlight was Tiptoe
Awesome.
Through the Tulips.
Excellent. I'll go to my next one, Zombie Jamboree by King Flash and the Calypso Carnival.
Back to back, belly to belly, I don't give a damn 'cause I done that already. Back to back, belly to belly at the Zombie Jamboree. Zombie Jamboree took place in a New York cemetery. The Zombie Jamboree took place in Long Island Cemetery. Zombies from all parts of the island. Some of them are great Californian. Since the season was carnival, they got together in Bacchanal.
What did you think of this, and have you heard this before?
It sounded like could have been done by Jimmy Buffett.
I know. You never heard this before?
No, I hadn't.
I heard it probably early 2000s. It was in a, I think it was a Oddities novelty song compilation from the 50s. But anyway, this is excellent calypso reggae song from early reggae from 56. The song is apparently a classic calypso folk number called Jumble Jamboree.
Yeah.
But they kind of just changed the lyrics. The problem is I know nothing about this group. I looked it up. I couldn't find anything about King Flash and the Calypso Carnival. So they must have been just this one and done thing. But I really like the song. It has a great beat, funny lyrics.
Yeah.
Basically, the song's about a zombie. Well, there's some kind of a party going on, a jamboree going on at a cemetery, and a particular zombie woman's trying to marry the narrator, and they go back and forth lyrically. The chorus is very, very catchy. I played it for my kids, and for a while they kept singing it constantly, so much that it got tiresome.
And see, and then I was doing research listening to your list, I also found the Kingston Trio did a version of it, and theirs is pretty good. Some really tight harmonies on their version.
Well, let me be lying with you, LC, after you kiss this dead zombie. Well, I never see such a horror in me life. Can you imagine me with a zombie wife? Yes, back to back, belly to belly, with a don't give a damn, cause I done that already. Back to back, belly to belly, at the zombie jamboree.
Yeah, and Harry Belafonte did a version of it, but I prefer the King Flash version. To me, it just sounds better.
For Halloween?
It seems like a Halloween song.
Halloween, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. All right, what do we got?
So my next one actually is a little more Halloweenish. The Witch Doctor by David Seville.
I told the witch doctor I was in love with you. I told the witch doctor I was in love with you. And then the witch doctor, he told me what to do. He said that...
Anybody familiar with Alvin and the Chipmunks would probably know this song, I think.
Yeah. Even though it's technically not a Chipmunks song. This is strictly David Seville. This was that was the stage name of Ross Bagdasarian Sr., who was kind of a producer, songwriter who experimented with some production techniques, including speeding up and slowing down recordings, and that led to him writing this song called The Witch Doctor, where it's basically a guy talking to the witch doctor and saying, how he has all these problems with this woman, and the witch doctor, tells him what to do, and it's ooh-ee, ooh-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. Now, because this was such a big hit, because it ended up peaking at number 1 on the Billboard Top 100, it ended up leading him to develop more recordings with this high-pitched voice, and eventually he developed characters that would go along with this, which became Alvin and the Chipmunks. And Alvin and the Chipmunks actually recorded a version of it later in 1960. And have you heard their version, the original David Seville version? What are your thoughts on it?
The original I heard a long time ago, probably in the late 80s, early 90s. And I was like, hey, this is very chipmunkish. And then I read about it, and I was like, oh, it's the same guy.
It is
the
the Chipmunks,
dude,
yeah.
Same David Seville dude who's... I watched the Alvin and the Chipmunk cartoons in the early 80s, so I was very familiar with them. So I was like, oh, this is probably just something he did earlier. And then I later heard the Chipmunks version, because the Witch Doctor, there's only like one high-pitched voice. And then later on, they recorded that there was 3 distinct Chipmunk voices in the subsequent
Yeah, they actually have
release.
harmony parts.
Yeah,
and the Chipmunk version is arguably a technically superior version of it, but it doesn't have, again, the original version has... despite it being, a popular hit and stuff like that, a pop song, it does have a little more of a raw, experimental, weird vibe to it that the Chipmunks version doesn't have.
No.
I told the witch doctor I was in love with you. I told the witch doctor I was in love with you. And then the witch doctor, he told me what to do. He said that...
No.
And then it was redone for the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie in 2007 with a very hip-hop influenced version of it. That's not awful.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. it's just interesting that the Chipmunks have had such a long staying power as a cultural phenomenon, despite essentially being birthed from a couple novelty songs. Because basically it was this and the Christmas song that they did. And then
I remember watching that movie when it first came out, and I was like, "Hey, wait a second! They don't record that song. That was before them. That was pre-Chipmunks."
You know, it's funny though, because the way that the story plays out in that movie is kind of like the real story of Ross Bagdasarian, minus like actual Chipmunks.
Yeah.
You know, as far as him being a songwriter and kind of struggling and stuff like that, and managing to, yeah, no, it's a good song. I like it. Always have since I was a kid. So. Yeah,
this always gets pulled out around Halloween for me as well.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So the last song I have basically next to nothing information about it. It is the Goo Goo Muck by Ronnie Cook and the Gay Lads, which is an interesting name for his group, but there you go.
When the sun goes down and the moon comes up, I turn into a teenage goo-goo muck. I cruise through the city and I roam the streets, looking for something that is nice to eat. You'd better duck when I show up, the goo-goo muck.
Ronnie Cook was like a rockabilly singer from California. He was, popular, like doing that garage rock, which is this certainly is. It seems really, really like low budget. Just get your band together. You're not in a studio and you just sing something. Mm-hmm. But I really like this version because it is so raw. What do you think of this?
It's okay.
What?
I like the saxophone solo, and you can twist to it. But it's pretty generic. I mean, as far as like 50s songs go, like
it's funny.
And what's funny is I think it's actually a 60s song, but it just seems like
it's a 62 song.
Yeah, it's very much of the 50s in terms of like its musical structure and the instrumentation. Yeah,
I like the way he sings it, and I like the music on it. But also, this other people who are listening to this might be familiar with the famously covered version by a punk rock group called the Cramps in 1981.
Yeah.
So did you hear that one?
I did in the research to this. Yeah.
What'd you think of that one?
That was all right.
It's more polished.
Yeah, I liked it better than I liked the original.
I'm the ninth-head hunter looking for some head with a way-out body underneath that head. Yeah, I'll get you, baby, with a little love, 'cause I'm a teenage tiger and a goo-goo mug.
I actually heard that one more. I actually heard that one before this because that was featured in 1985, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah.
So that's where I heard it, and then I went back. I don't know when I would have heard this. Probably sometime in the 90s. I would have heard Ronnie Cook's version, but I kind of prefer Ronnie Cook's just because it sounds so raw. But I like both versions. So, and that is my final song.
My last one. It's kind of an out of left field one, as they all are. My last one is Disco Duck by Rick Dees and his cast of idiots.
Look at me, I'm the disco duck.
Let's go, Mama. I got to have real Mama.
Rick Dees is a name I haven't thought of in a long time.
A long time. Rick Dees Weekly Top 40 Countdown.
Top 40. Yeah. We even got that here in Canada.
Nice. Yeah, no, he was very popular for that radio program. He still has a syndicated radio show today.
Oh, he does?
He does.
And he still does weekly top 40?
Yeah, he's getting up there in years, though. He's 68 years old now. But in 1976, when it was released, it became a number 1 hit for 1 week. And it also reached number 15 on the soul singles. But interestingly enough, it was produced by Bobby Manuel. Are you familiar with Bobby Manuel?
I don't think so, but I've heard that name.
He was a guitarist in Memphis who actually worked at Stax Records, and he played on some of Elvis's Stax material in 1973.
There you go.
So there's an Elvis connection here. Aside from the fact as well that Rick Dees was a DJ in Memphis, and the song itself was recorded in Memphis. So I have a long connection with this song in so much as, like, my mom had a 45 of this when I was growing up, and I would listen to it all the time. And on the A side, it had the main single, and then on the flip side of it, it had an extended, like, 5-minute version of it or something like that. It was a longer
like a
version.
dance version.
Yeah, the dance version. It's kind of orchestral disco. It's not basically the story is that he's at a dance at a disco, and then he starts like he's kind of uncomfortable being there, and then he gets encouraged to go out and dance, and he gets out there and he starts like turning into the disco duck,
right?
Which has this Donald Duck sound-alike voice to it.
I'm surprised they could use that. Can you copyright a voice?
You know, I don't. I think you probably can, but in the case of like a parody,
that's true.
I think it would be okay. Apparently, there was never a conflict. Disney never pushed up against it, other than to basically just. I think they at one point just said, you know, Clarence Nash, our official Donald voice at the time, never did it. You know, it was actually an acquaintance of Rick Dees's by the name of Ken Pruitt who did the duck voice.
I'm sure a lot of people could do that voice.
In the fade out of the song, you can actually hear somebody doing an Elvis impersonation, and they actually say thank you very much at the very end of the song. I mean, literally as it's fading out. So most people probably don't even hear it.
Thank you, Duck, for getting down. Thank you so very much.
Interesting side story. This was supposed to be featured in Saturday Night Fever, and Rick Dees' manager refused to allow the producers of the soundtrack album to include it, and so he missed out big time on having this song. I mean, the song be on the second best-selling soundtrack of all time.
Thank you so very much. While in the hospital, I had my hips lifted. Thank you.
But it's nice. It's a fun song.
No, it is actually fun.
I can totally see kids from the 70s, shaking their asses to this.
And today, like, my nieces actually really like this song. I played it for them, and so it's one of the things where they're like, play Disco Duck, play Disco Duck.
Nice.
So, yeah, no, it's pretty
awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there's...
That is our episode of novelty songs. I'm sure a lot of people out there have their favorite novelties that they can write in and let us know about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. tcbcast@gmail.com. So shall we go ahead and roll over to Song of the Week?
Yeah, let's drag ourselves over to Song of the Week.
Let's make it like the first chorus all the way through.
Since my baby left me, will I find you place to dwell? Well, this day I got a gal that I love so.
We can go on together with suspicious minds. I'm all shook up.
Well, that's different. That's a pop song now, Del-Vikings.
Let's get through this. All right, you want to go? You want to go first?
Yeah, I went first on the last, or I went last on the first.
Whatever, go first.
So, because I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, my song of the week is going to be Charro.
With eyes that hide the man within, don't see behind the eyes of other men. You've lived and died and come to life again. And now you're standing alone at the crossroads of your mind. You've left your yesterdays behind. But which road leads you to tomorrow? Charro.
Oh, you kind of hinted at that too with your Twitter posts.
Yeah. So it was recorded October 15th, 1968 as an instrumental, and then Elvis added an overdub on November 25th, 1968. Obviously, the film didn't come out until 1969, promoted by this kind of marketing campaign of a different kind of role, a different kind of man, really pushing that Elvis was not going to sing. He wasn't going to necessarily get the girl. It wasn't going to be your typical Elvis movie.
It's kind of like Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name, Leone type character.
Yeah, so it was very much inspired by the spaghetti westerns of the era, because there had been those string of Clint Eastwood, Sergio Leone, Man with No Name films, Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and then also, we'll talk about the other one in a second, but basically, it's interesting because even though it was written by Mac Davis and Billy Strange, who more famously did a whole bunch of other songs, A Little Less Conversation, Clean Up Your Own Backyard. Mac Davis, of course, wrote In the Ghetto, Don't Cry Daddy. Some of the best and most well-known songs of Elvis's late 60s career, Mac Davis really had a hand in. And then he really didn't do any more songs by Mac after about 1969. At one point, Mac Davis had done an interview, and he was kind of talking about all the different songs that Elvis had cut for him, and he basically was asked, when you wrote Charro, how'd that come about? And he basically said, well, I basically got asked to work with Billy Strange to come up with something, and he started doing, You Left Behind the Eyes of Other Men, Charro, and then he starts joking about how he himself, the songwriter, couldn't even remember the words to the song now because it had been so long. And it's interesting that it seems like it's a very underrated song in Elvis's catalog, probably because the movie hasn't been very well known. It hasn't been seen a whole lot of times by a lot of people. Obviously, it's out there. People can watch it. But it was just not one of Elvis's biggest hits. Probably because it deviated from that main formula. Because Elvis doesn't sing on screen. Charro is literally the only song in the movie, and it's over the opening credits where Elvis is not seen. But what's interesting is that it was used as the basis for the entire film's musical score, which was written by Hugo Montenegro, who was also the musical conductor on the master recording. He did all of the arrangements for the orchestration, so all the strings and everything like that. He worked up the arrangement for Charro. Now, Hugo Montenegro was most famous for his cover version of Ennio Morricone's Good, the Bad, and the Ugly theme. And his cover of that theme song actually reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. And it's much more upbeat. But it was because of his popularity covering spaghetti western music that he started getting gigs doing other spaghetti western films. So before I go further, what are your thoughts on Charro?
It's not a song that really stands out to me. I mean, I like it good enough. I probably heard it on Almost in Love when I first heard it.
Yeah.
And on that, it didn't stand out too much. I knew Elvis did a film called Charro, but I never watched it until, I'd say, mid-90s, probably. I remember my mom had watched it because she used to like watching those Clint Eastwood films. And this was like, oh, wow, she liked Elvis, and she liked those. It's like, this is a combination.
Yeah.
But to me, it wasn't appealing, but then I got into Elvis, and I did like it, and I do like the song. It's not one that it's regularly on my rotation, but I do like the song.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's the most underrated Mac Davis song that Elvis did, because it's associated with a film that most people never saw. I love, like, the orchestration is really strong. It's got these swelling strings, this great kind of thumping bass line that kind of is reminiscent of, like, riding a horse.
Turned your back on yesterday, betrayed a man who swore he'd make you pay, for when you left you took his pride away.
And when I first saw Charro, it was on Turner Classic Movies, and it was one of the Elvis weeks, and I recorded it on VHS, and I was so impressed by the fact that, and I was, I want to say, probably 13, 14 years old or something like that at the time. But even then, like, not knowing as much about movie making and things like that, not paying attention to a lot of those things, it still stood out to me that they bothered to tie the musical score of the film into the main theme.
Right.
And that was definitely appreciated on my part. The main theme itself, Charro, is in a way very reminiscent of, because Fistful of Dollars didn't have a theme song. I mean, it did, but it didn't have a vocal theme song. It's much more reminiscent, as far as a vocal theme, to the theme for Django from 1968. Have you heard that?
Yes.
Composed by Luis Bacalov and performed by singer Rocky Roberts.
After the showers, the sun will be shining. Django, oh Django, you must
Rocky Roberts is kind of doing an Elvis impersonation in the theme for Django.
It seems like it. Yeah, it does.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I was going to say, yeah, now that you mention it, it does. I did get vibes when I watched Django.
To the point that when Quentin Tarantino used it as the theme for Django Unchained in 2012, he actually, in an interview, described Rocky Roberts' Django theme as quasi-Elvis. And so I definitely think when Mac and Billy were devising this theme song for Charro, they were looking. I don't have confirmation of this, but if you listen to the two back to back, you can definitely hear in the tone, the style. Definitely feels very much like a riff on the Django theme in a way.
And we know Tarantino is an Elvis fan, so.
Oh, absolutely. As far as covers, it's really only been covered twice by, there was the Klaus Holland Dance Orchestra in the 90s. They basically are known for putting out CDs of dance music. They did a cover that's an instrumental, much faster in tempo. It almost sounds even more so like, galloping horses. because it's like ba-da-bum, 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 ba-da-bum.
With eyes that hide the man within, you see behind the eyes of other men. You've lived and died and come to life again. And now you're standing alone at the crossroads of your mind. You've left your yesterdays behind, but with what leads tomorrow. Charro.
And then it was remixed by a DJ named Danny Handes on YouTube, and he basically pulled back the instrumentation as best as he could with EQ and overlaid some new instrumentation, kind of gave it this psychedelic vibe. I don't know if you've heard that, but it's pretty cool.
I did not hear that.
Turned your back on yesterday. Betrayed a man who swore he'd make you pay. Oh, when you left, you took his pride away. You know he'll never let you break away so easily. You'll have to fight before you're free.
And essentially, the song was recorded in. Apparently, it took 9 takes. Only 5 and 9 were spliced for the master, and the master is the only thing that's ever been released on the FTD. The Last Movies, which was put out, I want to say, last year, has a rough mix, which features the kind of isolated vocal in one channel. The music is very pulled down. It's just interesting to listen to it and hear Elvis's vocal performance on its own, in a way.
Now in a single moment your past grows dim. One thought goes racing across your mind. You ride to meet the woman you stole from him. Oh no, Charro, don't go. Charro, don't go.
So, but yeah, I've always liked Charro as a song, and I just wanted to highlight it, not only because I've been playing a Western, but just because I do think it is one of the more underrated Mac Davis songs that Elvis did.
You need to play it while you play the game.
I will probably do that. Although the score, I don't really need to, though, because the score in the game is phenomenal. Woody Jackson did the score for the game. It's great.
You really are into that whole Old West right now,
really
aren't you?
into it, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Great pick.
So, that's my song of the week.
Now, my pick. It's a non-Elvis song.
Ooh.
And remember when I picked Earth Angel, I said that is one of the definitive oldies, 50s oldie songs?
Yes.
This song would also be, I'd say, in the top 5 of definitive 50s songs. It is Come Go With Me by the Del-Vikings.
Dum 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 dee doo dum 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 dee doo dum 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 dee doo dum wow 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 dum 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 dee doo dum 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 dee doo dum 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 dee doo dum wow 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 wow.
1956. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said something.
No, I'm just I repeated the title of the song because I'm trying to place it in my mind.
Oh, you know this song. Everybody knows this song. So, it was written by C.E. Quick, or Clarence Quick, who was a member of the doo-wop group, the Del-Vikings. They were formed in 1955 when they were members of the U.S. Air Force Station in Pittsburgh, and they were singing together to pass the time. They ran into problems where certain members would get transferred elsewhere, like, for example, Germany. But, eventually they came across a core group, which was Clarence Quick, Norman Wright, Corinthian Crip Johnson, Don Jackson, David Lurchie. He was a Caucasian, which made them one of the first racially integrated groups.
Yeah.
So they're different from other groups. There's various stories on how they got their name. It was either from a book about Vikings from the military base library or a basketball team from Brooklyn called the Vikings, or the publisher of the popular paperbacks called Viking Press. But whatever the case, Del-Vikings is what they came up with. They would do various talent shows on the bass and other shows when they were discharged. Come Go With Me was one of the original songs that they used to perform. They were discovered by a disc jockey, Barry Kay, on one of these shows, and he had recorded... they recorded multiple popular songs at the time, but also Come Go With Me. The song was released locally on Phoebe Records on December of 1956, and then nationally on Dot Records in January of 57. The B-side was How Can I Find True Love. To me, as I said, this is a quintessential 50s rock song. It's like a perfect doo-wop track. Johnson's lead vocals are great. They sound excellent together. As I said, must have heard this song because the original, the music starts with like dum 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 be dum.
Oh, now I know which one it is.
Oh yes, you know this.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that was what this was called.
Come Go With Me, yeah. That's what they say in the chorus.
Well, lovey, darling, come and go with me. Come home with me, baby, under sea. I need you, darling, so come go with me. Come into my heart, darling, we will never part. I need you, darling, so come go with me.
So the highest it reached on Billboard charts was number 5 during the week of May 13th, 1957. The number one song at the time, All Shook Up, which was number 1 for a lot of weeks. Just to round out the top 5 of that week, there was Little Darling by the Diamonds, Round and Round by Perry Como, and Gone by Ferlin Husky, who had that really great song called Wings of a Dove. The song is covered many, many times. The Fleetwoods had a nice version from 1958. The Fleetwoods' popular song was Mr. Blue.
Dum 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 be dum 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 be dum 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 be dum wow 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 dum 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 be dum 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 be dum 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 be dum wow wow wow.
Dion recorded a version in '62 when he went solo and split from the Belmonts. This is a really cool version as well.
Please, won't you give me
The Beach Boys recorded their own version in 1978, which also sounds really nice. Have you heard any of those?
You know, I probably have. Now that I know what song you're talking about, I've probably heard the Beach
You're like,
Boys
what
version.
song is this?
This is one of those songs that I don't know if because this happens sometimes. Like, you know a song, but you don't know necessarily what it's called. Yeah, that's what I think this is with me.
I heard this in like one of probably. I mean, this isn't Stand By Me, so obviously I've heard it before, but I was first aware of it in the early '90s on some kind of doo-wop compilation. I was Del-Vikings, so Come Go With Me. This is what it's called. So from then, I always love this song. Everybody I've run across loves this song, even though they don't know what it's called or who sang it. But everybody knows it. I think it was featured in some kind of a national milk ad as well recently. And my kids like it.
Nice.
Oh, and also, if anybody watched Saved by the Bell in the early 90s, the gang performed this song at the Max as a band called the Five Aces. So Zach Morris and the crew also sang.
Well, I love you, darling. Come and go with me and come home with me. Way beyond the sea, I need you, darling. So come go with me.
Yes, I need you. Yes, I really need you.
Please say you'll never leave me.
Well,
Where I remember this was American Graffiti, the George Lucas film.
Yep, it was in that as well.
Yeah.
Any kind of oldies film, most likely you're gonna add either Earth Angel or this. It's just so like intertwined with the 50s.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you hear this, you're taken back to like Stand By Me or American Graffiti. You're like, yeah, it's that time period.
Nice.
Certain songs do that, right? Like they encapsulate that
a
time period.
Yeah, that's like Billie Jean in the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, and just a quick thing. When you see this was recorded by the Del-Vikings, Del is sometimes spelled with two L's or one.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is the group actually split into two separate groups, and because of copyright stuff, one of them decided to go with two L's, and the original was with one L. So
Interesting.
if you ever see Del-Vikings with two L's or one, you know why. Even though it's the same song.
Crazy.
So, yeah, and that was my song of the week.
Great pick, dude.
Thank you.
Anyway, so that's our episode for the week. Novelty songs.
Sorry about the coughing and our voices.
Well, they won't hear any of that.
Well, okay.
But
we'll see. I don't think you can edit out all of the coughs.
I think I can. I managed to do it on the last episode, so.
But if we're talking and you're coughing, that might be a little bit more tricky.
Well, see, we're actually on separate channels.
Oh, okay.
So I can actually quiet myself while you're talking, and I can quiet
Bravo.
you while I'm talking.
Bravo.
Yeah.
So they can listen to us on Libsyn.
Yeah. TCBcast.libsyn.com, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube,
Twitter. You can email
we're on
us.
Twitter at TCBcast. We're up on Facebook. Yeah. So it's been a good episode.
Well, I guess it's a hot time in Florida.
And for Tony Joe White, it's a rainy night in Georgia.
Good night. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
You've been listening to the TCBcast, an unofficial Elvis fan podcast. Justin Gosman and Gurdip Ladar have left the building.
Someone must have stomped on his head with those blue suede shoes.
Thank you and good night.